Hey there, my friends. You got a little peekaboo between the countdown and my my theme song being played. Sorry about that. Hey, I just want to come on for a few minutes to talk about what I have going on in the near future, just to kind of give you a rundown, because I definitely want to come on and let you know that I have a great show coming on this evening at 6:30, and that is going to be with my friend Deanna, who ran in Congress against Nancy Pelosi. You're not going to want to miss this interview. She's going to talk about some of the things she learned about what it's like to run against somebody like Nancy and the swamp, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say. So it's going to be very exciting. 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, live. I'll be interviewing her. The post is right down below wherever you're watching this. If it's on YouTube, I'm not sure where you'll find it. Maybe you have to scroll to the right or left. I'm not sure. But make sure and hit the subscribe button. Make sure and hit follow button, whatever it is that you, or the reminder button. Find that post. It's going to be in that that particular post where I'm going to go live. So find that. I cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic, and looking very much forward to that interview. I'm going to be doing some stuff to my studio. That is the plan over the next week or two. And what I'm going to do in my other platform where I teach you how to do live streaming, and I have a program where I teach you how to do live streaming. I'm going to be going into the intermediate part of the training. All those videos should be uploaded shortly. Right now, the basic version is available. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my banner here if it'll allow me to. Sometimes, for some reason, it doesn't like my finger. And you get to stand here watching me poke at the screen over and over again to see if I can get to my banners. Oh my Lord, come on, buddy. Come on. Give it to me. It's the only flaw right now in StreamYard app. Oh, all right, I'm going to come back to it because it just, oh, there we go, finally. So go to joinmelive.live, joinmelive.live. I wanted to be on the screen so that you could hear me say it, plus you could see it. Go to joinmelive.live. Go there, pay $4.99 currently, and then you will get notified when the intermediate program comes up. I'm going to be very generous in what I price the next stage, the intermediate portion. So I would go now, because all of you that are in, when that goes live, you will get a coupon, or in some cases, I'll be able to grant you based on something. Anyway, just understand, if you join now at the $4.99, and that's lifetime, that's not monthly, that's not weekly, that's just one-time price of $4.99, you're going to get the version of the basics, how to really get started doing live streaming. And I go a little bit further than just your very basics. But then the intermediate is going to go how I do this, how I put up oh, you know what? Now I'm not going to be able to switch over, am I? Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna stand there and do that. How I put a picture of Deanna's book over to one of these sides. It was this side, I think. How I did that, where I go to make those, all those kinds of things. How I do these, not necessarily these, but I have other lower thirds that I've used from time to time, or frames. How to have a show flow, what I use for a show flow, that kind of stuff. So make sure to do that. That'll be coming up. And this is, I'm talking about my network of shows. So I have the Andy Falco Show, which is mostly current events and things that are going on around the world, and we'll be talking about that kind of stuff. I have guests, like tonight I have Deanna on, and then I have the live streaming programs where I teach you how to go live streaming. That's on another platform that I use, and so that will show you how to do those kinds of things. And I have Falco Canine Academy, where I teach dog training. I'm going to be changing the studio behind me just a little bit. It'll look a little bit differently. Hopefully, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'm still planning out what it is I want to do. Right now, I have. This ring light is my primary light. I'm sure I'm going to try to keep facing this way. Is my primary light. I have a desk that I got at Home Depot that works perfectly. It raises up and down based on what it is I'm doing. I have a stool behind there. I have the whiteboard where I can either put white print on a PNG that shows up on the whiteboard, or I can actually write on the whiteboard. But some of that stuff will be changing. So I'll be showing you how I do that, the process of doing that, my reasoning behind doing stuff like that. The dog training show, I'm going to be talking about some new dog training stuff. It's old dog training, but in a new way. I'll be showing you some stuff. Again, I like to do that every so often. I still have the dog training business where I have trainers that are doing the training business, so I like to support them and what it is they're doing. And by broadcasting that, I believe it helps. They still follow the same techniques, and probably gone even further than what we started with when we started doing Falco Canine Academy. I got my friend Aldo Secchi. He's from Argentina. Brings a lot of knowledge to the dog training business. So I got Gina, who runs the dog training business for the Orange County Falco Canine Academy and does a great job. I want to be talking about schools and what's happening with schools. I have 4 small kids. I know that I have a lot of parents that are watching. I have a lot of parents that are going through some stuff both in private schools and in public schools. We're going to be talking about that. I'll get rid of this really quick. Like, for instance, I found this article on the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity.org, freeop.org, and found an article during the height of the COVID-19. And the reason I was interested in this is because, you really got to think right now. So New York, they're considering, in the state of New York, they're considering stopping you and testing you and you have to submit. You have no choice. This is what I just heard just now. I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 dogs too. So before I sign off, don't let me forget about talking about COVID-19 dogs. Let me see if I can get the comments here really quick. My gosh, why is this not? I'm going to have to get a hold of the guys. There we go. Hey, Amy Feltz, nice to see you. Glad to see you there. Don't let me forget, Amy, to talk about COVID-19 dogs that are being trained. I've talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again because it's in the news. But in regard to, New York stopping you and testing you to see you have COVID-19, they're not going to be the only state, right? You got other crazy lunatics like in Seattle and Oregon and California. They may do the same thing where they will stop you. You do not have any choice. They will swab you or draw blood or whatever it is they're going to do, have you breathe or sneeze into a bag. I don't know what it is they're going to do. They're going to test you against your will, supposedly. If you don't submit, you will be fined and you'll be quarantined. And this is not America. And so I started to think, so I want to look, I said, okay, so what are the current stats? And what I ended up finding out, I found this article, and this is one I found right away. I found a few, but this one was back in the height, right when we were up at the higher peak. At the higher peak, it was, what are you most likely, what are you more likely to die of or get killed by? COVID-19 or the flu or shoot. Sorry about that. The flu, they're talking about what I'm talking about right now. The flu or what was the other one? Oh, pneumonia. So what are you most likely to die of? And of course, in most age groups other than 80 years old and above, you're more likely to die of COVID-19 because they're putting sick people in nursing homes. That's why the percentage is higher. But let's just not talk about that. That is like something completely different. But everything below essentially says you're more likely to die of the flu or pneumonia than COVID-19, even at the height, right? We're not at the height right now. If you see, you have very few people dying. You have a lot of people testing that they have it, but a very low amount of people dying. It's about dying, I think, right? You get sick. You got a lot of things. Again, we get sick of a lot of things. You get a car crash, you're crippled, right? You're paralyzed. But here it says, based on the analysis, what is striking is that most under the age of 25 are at significantly lower. I want to see if I need to go above that just a little bit. Let me see if I can go. For this analysis, we averaged the death tolls from influenza and pneumonia from 2007 to 2017 from the CDC's National Center for Health. Statistics on average in those 11 years, 172 people per million U.S. residents died from influenza or pneumonia, or roughly 60,000 per year. All right, so just understand this. And I'm going to have a point. I'm not trying to say that COVID-19 is not bad. I'm not trying to say that, people aren't going to die from COVID-19, that kids aren't going to get sick from COVID. I'm just trying to give you the stats because this is very alarming that the state of New York is considering having checkpoints for COVID-19. Checkpoints, random checkpoints, right? And then you're going to be forced to submit to a test to find if you have COVID-19. And then if you have it, they're going to take you and they're going to cause you to quarantine for 14 days. What? Okay. So, and this is on a pandemic, right? Or a pandemic that where when you look at more people are dying from the flu or pneumonia over a period of time. And based on this analysis from freeup.org, is that based on that analysis, what is striking is that those under the age of 25 are significantly lower risk of death from COVID-19. And again, this was written at the height of COVID-19 than the flu. Under our assumptions, for example, school-age children between 5 and 14 have a 1 in 200,000 chance of dying of influenza. 1 in 200,000. 1 in 200,000 of dying for influenza. I'm going to say it one more time. 1 in 200,000 of dying from influenza. School-age children, 25 and under. All right? Oh, no, 5, 10, and 14. There we go. Okay, sorry, I just lost my place. But in regard to COVID-19, they have a 1 in 1.5 million chance of dying of COVID-19. All right, so explain to me again why schools weren't closed down regarding the flu, right? We're closing them down based on a child's chance of getting sick and dying of COVID-19 of 1.5 million, 1 in 1.5 million, as opposed to dying from the flu of 1 in 200,000. So what are they trying to tell us? Are they now going to say, okay, we're over COVID-19, but you know what? What we just found out through all this study and testing, we found out the flu is way more deadly. So we're going to continue to keep your schools closed. Is that kind of where we're going? Is that one of the possibilities? So we really need to stay on top of this whole thing. We are getting fed a bowl of goods. Is that what you say? What's the saying? Getting fed a bunch of crap is what we're getting fed. It's a bunch of crap. So I just want to go for toddlers. Let's talk about toddlers, right? We were talking, the children, even the little babies. So in toddlers, the relative risk is even more pronounced. We estimate that Americans between the ages of 1 and 4 are 9 times more likely to die of influenza than of COVID-19. 9 times more likely to die of influenza than COVID-19. And yet, we're closing down preschools, we're closing down schools for something where we have way less of a chance as a child to die of this thing. And again, even under the age of 25, the only age group that has a higher chance of dying of COVID-19 are the 80-year-olds and above. But again, what they're taking into consideration is the large amount of people that have died in nursing homes because they took COVID-19 patients and put them in nursing homes. If you were to take that out, because that really should not have happened, and right now I'm pretty sure we can keep that from happening, then that would be a huge difference in regard to the stats. And that's not happening. Of course, they don't care about, biases and that kind of stuff when it comes to scaring people and making sure that we have to wear masks and all this kind of stuff. And in New York, they're saying that they're going to stop you and test you against your rights, against your desire. They will test you, and then if you test positive, then they're going to take you and they're going to quarantine you for 14 days against your will. All right, let's talk about COVID-19 dogs really quick. I see this happening, and I see people making a lot of money. I should do it. I should have said, I have 40 years of training, but I'm just not this kind of person. I have 40 years of training dogs. I've trained dogs for bios before E. coli salmonella detection, and you would not believe the uproar that my training of dogs in regard to this type of bio, which is E. coli salmonella, which again is very harmful and can cause people, to get very sick and some people to die, right? This bacteria that we're, training these dogs to help us locate and that kind of stuff. And we hit so many roadblocks, like, no, you can't do this because of blah, and you can't do this. And we had the country of Ireland and Northern Ireland that was like, was hearing about it, and then somebody brought it to them, and yet we were trying to. I had to fly to Ireland like 3 times to try to get them to understand that we could possibly do this. You don't understand. We're not using the bio, right? Everybody was in uproar because they thought we were using the bio. We weren't. We were using the thing that leads to E. coli salmonella, and that is fecal matter. What? Yes. So we found something that actually leads to it, and if we could find produce that had fecal contamination, the likelihood of it having eventually infecting somebody with E. coli salmonella is much higher, right? And so the State Department or the Department of Public Health in California, what they've always done is they've always tried to find fecal contamination because they knew always that is the thing that leads to E. coli salmonella poisoning. And so if you could find produce that was contaminated with fecal, then you were able to stop a spread of E. coli salmonella. So we found the thing that caused it, which is everywhere, right? We get rid of it. We have it. Dogs, deer, boar, coyotes, human. Of course, we had that. what am I missing? There's a couple other ones out there. Bird, right? We would take all these different kinds of fecal matter and we would create a soup out of it all. I know it was really gross, but we trained the dogs to find that, and we would put a little drop on some romaine lettuce. We put a little drop on cilantro, on tomatoes, and we would hide those in a bunch or a bag or a crate of other tomatoes. We'd send the dog, and the dog would tell us which one had the produce that was contaminated with fecal contaminant. Very, very easy. Right. And it was in controlled circumstances. We always knew what we were doing. We always had somebody, a control person who knew where stuff was so that we could get rid of it and dispose of it properly. And we need come back, and we needed to make sure that we took all these precautions. We had the backing of Chiquita, we had the backing of Dole and a bunch of other produce companies, and it was very well done. Now, the reason I'm telling you this whole story is because the worry was what we were going to use the actual E. coli salmonella, and no, we never were, but everybody was so worried about that thing, and it caused us so much grief and made it so difficult. We had to jump through all kinds of hoops, and I had to teach classes in Hawaii, in Florida, in Ireland, in the UK, and it just never got to the ground because people were so worried about what it is we were using to teach the dogs. So now get to this COVID-19. Do you see? I mean, there's a lot of intelligent people watching right now. I see Amy and I see Loretta and Paul. You guys probably already understand this. What are you going to use for the training aid to teach the dogs to find it? What is it that you're going to use? Nobody's been able to give me that. I told everybody, I said, okay, I need to know if you want me to do this, because essentially right now, I would say I'm one of the top, if not the top detection dog trainer expert in the world. I testified in hundreds of cases throughout North America. And I know that sounds very like my head's gigantic, but I'm just telling you that nobody has testified, nobody has researched, nobody has written a scientific paper like I have. I've written several books on it. And I'm telling you that I said, if you want me to help you do this, because I've done it before. It was a 5-year study with UC Davis. I had a grant with UC Davis. We had scientific professors and laboratories that we were using to do those kind of, and we studied it for 5 years. And we used all kinds of different things to get it done. And I said, if you can show me what we could use for the training aid, in other words, what is it that's going to have the odor that we can teach the dog to find other than the COVID-19? Nobody so far has been able to give me that thing. So I think some people are lying to you. There's two things they're lying about. Number one is that they can train a dog to do it. What are they using for the virus? Are you going to tell me, and I think one of them is in the UK. I think in the UK they're doing it. UK gave me the hardest time they thought we were using the E. coli salmonella. And they didn't want to even let me into the country because they thought somehow I was going to bring it in. No, I'm bringing nothing. I'm bringing myself. And we had to go through all kinds of checkpoints. But yet you're going to tell me right now that you're giving somebody the COVID-19 virus. You're giving a dog trainer the COVID-19 virus to use as a train. Are you telling me this right now? Are you telling me that you're giving out the COVID-19 for people to experiment on? Did you not learn something from what possibly happened in Wuhan in regard to not having the COVID-19 virus locked down and under strict protocols on how you control this COVID-19? I need to know what it is. And if I'm yelling, it's because I'm crazy. Like, what the hell is going on? I'm watching a news thing where they're saying, we got all kinds of dogs we trained with COVID-19. What are you using for COVID-19? Don't tell me you're using pseudo. That somehow you got, I have a friend that makes pseudo narcotics and explosives and bed bug odors and that kind of stuff. Don't tell me you've come up with a pseudo for COVID-19. You please don't. You're not going to tell me that, because again, we're talking about people's lives. We're saying that we trained a dog reliably to search human beings and identify human beings that have COVID-19. Right? So what is it? It's got to be something else, because it can't be for COVID-19. You could be training the dog to find people that have a certain, if it's a high temperature and it's a diarrhea and a cough and there's something that you can pinpoint on a person that has that smell. Is there a smell that person puts off when they have a high fever, when they have diarrhea, when they have a cough, there's like a bunch of other things. Is there some way that they smell? Now, I want to know how you've harnessed that smell, because now you need to have people that have COVID-19 to be your training aids. right? So you see the complications, and the fact that in only 4 months you have dogs trained to do this already. Who's pulling the wool over somebody's eyes, right? Somebody's not telling the truth. The other truth that I said is an absolute lie, is that they're 92. I saw it on the screen. They're 92% reliable. I've been training dogs for 40 years. 40 years I've been training dogs. In a laboratory setting, with a well-trained dog and a well-trained handler to find narcotics in a perfect environment, you could possibly get 90 percentile under perfect circumstances, right? So that means you have perfect circumstances. You have, the air conditioning is not blowing heavily. You've got distractions are free in the room. You have no other odor distractions in the room. And then you have the odor in one place of maybe 6 potential locations, and the dog sniffs the 6 locations and identifies the one and ignores the other 5, right? And you consistently do that over and over again, and you then have 90. But again, do you hear what I'm telling you? You have to have the perfect conditions, perfect environment. The handler has to be perfect on that day, and the dog has to be perfect on that day to get in the 90%, right? And yet you still don't get perfect. I'm telling you, it's ludicrous. I have been doing this for a very long time. I researched this very thing, E. coli salmonella, in a laboratory environment, not only in UC Davis, on the campus at UC Davis, in their laboratories with dogs, several dogs that I trained, right? And I think I'm pretty good. And we were getting 70% on good days. And we were using different levels of the contamination. We were using 0.01 microliters, and we were getting about 60 to 70%, right? And that's pretty good. That's microscopic, 0.01 microliters of something is very tiny on a tomato. But again, that's in a perfect environment. And we had really good handlers, and we had really good dogs, and we had the best situation possible, and we were getting anywhere between 60 and 72%. And we were going, wow, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. That is really good. But that doesn't mean that now I can take that dog and go to a warehouse or go to the border and search a bunch of boxes of cilantro and have 72%. Because now you're in an imperfect environment, right? With imperfect conditions, with several distractions that you don't have in a laboratory, and you're going to have some success, you're going to have some failures. That's the way life works. But to put on the screen that the dogs are 90, who's fact checking this stuff? It's crazy. And so now, again, this is why this is driving me crazy, and this is why I kind of wanted to get on. I wanted to really talk about that. Don't forget to watch tonight at 6:30. I'll be interviewing Deanne, who ran for Congress against Nancy Pelosi. That's what I really got. But I see it. I see the shows coming on here, or the stories coming on the television over here, and I'm glad that Amy. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. The bullshit. I'm telling you, I have handlers on the stand, police dog handlers on the stand, law enforcement officers on the stand. My dog is 100%. And I go, I hear it all the time. Or they say anywhere between 90 and 100%. I go, in what world are you 90 and 100%? Right? Unless, again, here's where, and I hope this is interesting to some of you. I know that I can see my numbers kind of go up and up, but you just got to understand how this works, because people are going to buy into this. People are going to believe it. I'm going to get tons of messages. Oh, did you see the story? They're training dogs for COVID-19 and they're 92% reliable. I'm going to get it. I'll get them. I should probably start counting them, because I'm going to tell you, I get all of that. I get anything dog related sent to me, which is fine. But I'm going to get a ton saying, well, how come you didn't think of that? How come you didn't do that? Because you can't do it. You can't. Show me the COVID-19 training aid that's not going to get loose and kill people. Please tell me what it is you're using. If you're using sick people, how are you using the sick people? Where are you finding the people with the symptoms that's going to give you that scent fingerprint that you can use to imprint on a dog's olfactory system and brain, so that when they run into that it triggers the mechanism for them to sit in alert? Where are you going to get that? When we finally discovered, all I had to do is ask the question of the director for the United States Food and Drug Administration. He was also the director for the California Department of Public Health. And I said, if we can't use E. coli salmonella, which I don't think we can because it's unsafe, I don't know why we would do that. It's very dangerous. I don't want to do it. I don't want to handle it. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to be walking in a suit like we're seeing people walking right now. What else? What is it that leads to that? What is the consistent thing that we can use that leads? He goes, fecal contamination. And I started laughing. I go, oh, wow, that's easy. I can teach a dog to find crap. They do it all the time. Right. And so that was easy. Like, I just laughed. He goes, oh, and he always tells the story. Once Andy stopped laughing, then we went to work and we come up with a solution. So there's a solution. But I have not heard of a solution for coming up with whatever causes. What, do we find bats? Do we use a diseased bat? No. Do you see the problems? You see the absurdity that they've trained dogs for COVID-19. They're doing something else. They're pulling the wool over your eyes, right? It's not for COVID-19. It's for something else. I often tell people the dogs for E. coli salmonella were actually fecal dogs, fecal contamination. And I go, what does that mean? Well, fecal contamination on produce leads to E. coli salmonella poisoning. Oh, okay, right? That makes sense. It's not hard to understand. But give me the COVID-19. Do I find a diseased bat? And now we train the dog to find the diseased bat. Then how does that translate to the actual on somebody's body that they have it, or a surface, or in somebody's luggage, or wherever else? How are they using these dogs? And again, just go back now to the other thing, that they're 92% reliable. They're off their freaking mind. They are nuts and crazy. I'm telling you, there is no police dog, narcotics dog that's in the 90%. Again, in training, in a perfect environment, you can get in 90%. It's possible, but again, that if your training isn't testing you to make you fail so that you get into the 80 or 70%, if your training is so bad that your training does not cause you to fail, it's bad training. And you might be saying, Andy, well, why is it? Don't you want your dog to be successful? Yes, but you also have to make sure you find your dog's limitations. You have to make it difficult for both you and the handler in these training scenarios. You got to put it in places where it might be deep, or it might be next to a dirty diaper, or it might be next to something that's making a lot of noise. And if you're not making your training difficult for the dog to be successful, then you're not performing training that's going to be beneficial for both the handler and the dog. And so that's why I always say, well, your training should not be 100%. If it is, then something's wrong. If your training is showing that you're 100 to 95% successful, then your training is wrong. What are you not doing? What have you not thrown a tennis ball in there somewhere and hit it under a couch or in a book or next to the thing? Have you not had somebody bouncing a tennis ball while you're training? Have you not had somebody throw some beef jerky in a drawer next to where the narcotics is hidden? Have you not tried? Well, why would we do that? The dog would. Exactly, because that's where we need the dog to learn to ignore those things to be successful, to now bring them up into somewhere into the 70s and higher range. The dog will never, you know why? Also because I'm not perfect as a handler. I always make mistakes. I step off on the right foot. I block the dog. I stop the dog with my leash. There's all kinds of things that begin to happen. And so now you're going to reduce the dog's perfection because now you have a flawed human being that's attached to the leash. So I'm so sorry. I'm going to end up probably repeating this because the story I know is going to catch fire. I know the story is going to set people in a place that they're going to go, I want to get in on it. How do I get on this? And they're going to start charging you $15,000 to $25,000 for a COVID-19 dog, and you're going to fall for it, and it's going to be flawed, and it's not going to work, because I have not. And again, I'm very much into the business of detection dogs, and I have yet to find out what it is you're using for a training aid. Don't tell me you're using pseudo. If I hear, oh, we're using pseudo, it's not really COVID-19, but it smells like it. No, then it's unreliable. Andy, you saying pseudo doesn't work? I'm not saying that. Pseudo has its place, but it doesn't replace the real thing. Pseudo has its place in training, but it doesn't replace certifying on the real thing, right? Training the dog and imprinting the dog on the real thing is more important than that. You don't want to imprint on a pseudo. You want to imprint on the real thing. You can use pseudo for maintenance training, for places where you can't take C4 and dynamite or, methamphetamine or cocaine or heroin, right? If there's places like an elementary school you're training, then you will want to use pseudo, but you have to train on the real thing first, and you have to only certify on the real thing. So you still need the real thing. All right. So don't tell me you're only using pseudo and then also tell me you're 92% for finding COVID-19, because that's an impossibility. All right. Don't forget tonight at 6:30. Sorry. I hope I didn't ruin your day coming on. You stayed on for a reason. You could have clicked off, right? Amy, thanks for joining and helping me with this discussion. Gates and Fauci are probably the ones selling the COVID. You might be right. Yes, yes, the same people selling the vaccines. All right, so tonight, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, whatever that is, three, no, it's later than that. 9 o'clock, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and then everybody in between. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking to Deanna, who ran for Congress against Nancy Pelosi, to talk to us about what she experienced by doing that. And then future shows, I'll be talking about my studio. So for my other broadcasts on my other shows, we'll be talking about going live, about some the techniques that I used to go live, and the graphics and that kind of stuff. We'll be talking about that. Dog training stuff will be coming up. I'm sure I'll be talking about COVID-19 dogs again. That was all just impromptu. That's all off the top of my head. I'm not sure that my other show that will be specific on it will have any differences, because that's kind of how I roll sometimes. So I hope that was helpful. When you see the story, just look at it and go, all right, Andy said, let me see this. And it looks very professional. You're going to see it. They got these, metal pipes and things like that. Okay, what's in there? Who, what? I need to know. It's just one more thing. It was impossible for me to even consider thinking using E. coli Seminole, right? It was never even an option. They also wanted me to use, they also wanted me to train dogs for bovine tuberculosis. Bovine tuberculosis was another one in the UK that they really hoping, and I said, fine, we can do it. You got to find me what we can use for a training aid. That's always the stumbling block, right? Cancer, not that hard, right? You can find somebody with cancer, have them urinate or give you blood, and there is something to be said that they've been able to use dogs to be able to do that. And I was part of a documentary that we were talking about how that would work and that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's another subject matter, because you can't necessarily catch cancer, right? That's a different thing. Where when we're talking about this COVID-19 and bovine tuberculosis, you need to get that thing, right? Or something that leads to that thing. That's where we're having this difficulty. So if they're using COVID-19 like in a petri dish, it's sitting there in a petri dish, and at this point they're telling us how much we don't know about it. We don't know how it spreads according to the experts, right? We don't know if it's surface. We don't know if it's necessarily through the spittle that comes out of your mouth or your nose, or it comes out of your pores. Like, we don't know. Like, they still don't know, as far as I know. They may know, but they're not really telling us exactly how, because they told us everything, right? You don't need mask, you need mask. It's surface, it's not surface. It's all like, and so you're going to tell me right now that you're going to tell me, Mr. TV, that they here's a petri dish of COVID-19. We're really not sure how you catch it, but here you go. Use it for your dog training. Have fun with the dogs and their tail wagging and all this stuff, right? Oh God, it just makes me laugh. And yet people are buying it. People are buying it. They're going, oh, look how cool that is. Even the announcer going, oh, that's so good. I knew dogs would help us in this. Yeah, but you're not using your brain. All right, that's it. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you tonight at 6:30 with Deanna Lorraine. All right, bye.